What if the habit you're most proud of is actually the thing holding you back? Most men assume discipline is always a good thing. More structure, more habits, more systems, right? That's the path forward. And in many ways, they're right. Discipline matters. But there's a shadow side that, very few men ever talk about. And it's costing, some of the most hardworking, most well-intentioned men in the room more than they realize. It's called the dark side of discipline. And it happens, when good habits quietly crowd out great ones. When a man checks, every box on his morning routine, but goes to bed with a wife who feels invisible. When he reads a book a week, but hasn't started the one thing God actually put on his heart. When he's disciplined in all the visible ways and neglecting the ones that matter most. Today, we're going to shine a light on this because the goal isn't just to be a disciplined man. The goal is to be disciplined toward the right things. Here's a truth that doesn't get said enough. Discipline is a tool, not a destination. Like any tool, it can be pointed in the wrong direction. And when a man has, a high capacity for discipline, but lacks clarity about what matters most, he becomes very efficient at the wrong things. Ecclesiastes 4:4 puts it plainly. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. Hard work that flows from comparison, from image management, and from keeping up. That's not godly discipline. That's performance, dressed up as productivity. The question isn't, whether you're disciplined. The question is, discipline toward what? Because a man, can wake up at 5 a.m., he can journal, cold plunge, hit the gym, listen to 3 podcasts and still walk through the front door at night as distracted and emotionally unavailable as a husband and father, and he's done all the visible things. But the people in his home are getting the leftovers. That's not discipline. That's, high functioning drift. Let me give you a couple of just pictures here. There's a man who, does a 2-hour workout every single day. He's proud of it. His body, is in the best shape of his life, but he and his wife haven't had a real conversation in weeks. She feels like an afterthought. He tells himself, the workout is for his health. It's for his family, for his longevity. But if the people, in his home feel neglected, something is out of order. No amount of discipline in the gym covers that up. Here's another one. A man wants to write a book. God put that calling on his heart years ago, but instead of working on it, he's in a read a book a week club. So reading is good, right? Reading is valuable. But if it's filling the exact space where his calling should be growing, reading has quietly become avoidance disguised as discipline. And that's the dark side, right? Good things crowding out the great thing God actually asked you to do. In Luke 10, Jesus visits the home of Mary and Martha. Martha is busy, right? She's cooking, serving, preparing, all good things. But Mary sat at Jesus' feet and listened. And when Martha complained, Jesus said something that should just stop every disciplined man in his tracks. Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. You can be busy doing good things and still miss the one thing. Your legacy will not be defined, by your habit list. It will not be measured by how early you got up or how many books you read or how many miles you logged. It will be shaped by whether, the people closest to you felt truly loved. Whether the calling God placed on your heart was actually answered. Whether your, discipline was pointed at the things that mattered most. Your children and your wife will remember your presence and your attention. They will remember whether, you were really there. The habits that help you show up for them will be part of your legacy. The habits that, kept you busy while they waited are the ones worth examining. So, how do we find out if discipline has drifted in the wrong direction? Here's some honest steps. Do a weekly habit audit. Look at what fills your day. I do this with many men as we do calendar audits and we really look at these things more in depth. But, for each habit, just ask this, does this serve my most important relationships and my God-given calling? Or is it serving my ego, my comfort, or my image? Be ruthless, right? Honest with your answers. You're just doing this for yourself, right? With yourself. Nobody else is listening. Put people before performance. Before you lock in your daily routine, make sure there is intentional space for the most important people in your life, not just the most important tasks, right? Your family should not be scheduled around your habits. Your habits should be built to serve your family. I want you to ask one hard question. What is the thing God has been putting on your heart that you keep delaying? Name it. Be specific. Say out loud. Then ask yourself, which of my current habits is quietly taking up the space where that thing should be growing? Then watch for discipline as avoidance. Sometimes the habits we hold most just rigorously, are the ones protecting us from something uncomfortable. A difficult conversation, we just keep not having, right? A step of obedience we keep not taking, right? A relationship that needs attention, we keep redirecting elsewhere. If a habit is consistently, keeping you away from something God is calling you toward, pay attention to that. Let the most important thing be the most disciplined thing. If your marriage is not on your habit list, it is not actually a priority. If your walk with God, only happens when everything else is done, it is not actually first, right? Restructure your rhythms so that, what matters most receives your most consistent, protected attention. There's a popular image of discipline that looks like a warrior doing a cold plunge at 4 a.m., lifting heavy weights and grinding through discomfort. And while there's nothing wrong with physical discipline, that image has convinced, a lot of men that hard physical habits equal real discipline. They don't. Some of the most disciplined people alive are single moms getting 3 kids to school on time on 4 hours of sleep. Discipline isn't about what's hard to look at. It's about doing the right things consistently in the right direction. The hardest thing for most men today isn't, a workout. It's sitting still long enough to think honestly about whether their life is pointed where God is asking it to go. Right? The kind of discipline, that's quieter, less visible, and far more important. Here's what I want you to do this week. Don't add anything new. Instead, look at what's already there. Find one good habit, that may be crowding out something great. It might be a workout that's taking more than it's giving back. It might be, a comfortable routine that's keeping you from uncomfortable step of obedience. It might be a pattern that looks productive, but keeps you from the people who need you most. Would you name it? And then take one step, just one, toward the thing that actually matters most. Because God didn't call you to be a disciplined man who missed the point, right? He called you to be a faithful one. And faithfulness means, pointing your discipline at what he said matters. If this episode made you stop and ask, whether your discipline is actually pointed at what matters most, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you know a hardworking man who has all the right habits, but still feels like something is off at home, share this with him, right? This might be the conversation that helps him name it. Would you join the Courageous Men community and keep becoming the man God is shaping you to be? Let's take action. Let's be courageous.